Hello and welcome back to Ears to East, where it's Hanabie. Nice, thanks for that. Didn't expect musical accompaniment for that.
I was just adding to your intro, mate.
Get a little
Make it happy.
cadence at the end of it. Yeah, why not? All right. So today we're going to be talking about we figured that we might spend a bit of time on this channel, really, rather than focusing on little issues, talking about generally bands who we like, discussing their progress, things that we've enjoyed from them, and just getting a little bit of a broader perspective. Because I think sometimes we focus in on little issues, maybe having a broader look at things. So today we're looking at Hanabie. I recently just got done doing a series of reactions to their debut EP, Cherry Blossoms Are Blooming. Obviously, I've heard a lot of their newer stuff when it came out. So yeah, just kind of catching up on this because this is a band who's gone through some interesting directions. Definitely more in the metal sphere, but a band who really brought me in because as someone who just is a big fan of good songwriting and interesting songwriting, for me, they're like one of the bands at the apex of that. I just think their songwriting is so admirable that whether you like their sound or not, you can't not love the attitude they have towards music. But anyway, yeah, I thought I'd catch up on this one and see where you guys have been on the Hanabie train.
I actually wanted to ask you because you said they really brought you in, but I'm guessing that was their newer stuff and you just listened to the first release right now. So I wanted to like get your opinions on that first release because in my opinion it's quite yeah, it's a lot very different than the other albums, I would say. So I would kind of be curious to know, do you like it the same? Do you think it's lacking in some aspects? What do you think about it?
I think probably the best way of
Talking
describing
about
it.
cherry blossoms are blooming.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, absolutely. I think the way that I would describe it, I mean, there are a couple of songs. Apologies, I can't remember each one by name. I should have checked that beforehand. But I think that my general vibe with that album is that, and we joke a lot about me being not the metalhead here, but I do like quite a bit of metal. And for me, I really enjoyed a lot of that album. Do I like it as much as the stuff that came after? Probably not, no. But for me, it's got that thing that you really want if you retrospectively listen to a first album, in that it shows you all the things that mark out the band that they were going to become. So you really get every little sense of the clever little songwriting. It's not quite as cohesive. There's some songs which don't gel quite as well as their later songs, but like the ideas are so like engaging. Like you always feel like something interesting is happening. And even though it doesn't quite feel as cohesive as and quite as experimental as a lot of their later stuff, everything that I love about Hanabie now is totally indicated to in that first album. And so that's exactly what I wanted from it. Yeah, I don't think it's quite sonically as playful. I don't think it has quite as much up its sleeve as a lot of their newer stuff. But I do think that it's absolutely, if this was the first time I was hearing them, would be that album, I would be totally excited to hear more. So, yeah. And I would also be very glad with the direction. If I was hearing the following albums coming out off the back of it, I'd be glad with the direction it was going in because they've expanded in adding more styles. They've played with things, the whole "We Love Sweets," let's throw a bit of rap in there kind of thing. The kawaii aspects in the "Pardon Me," and a girls' talk, obviously having a little bit of weird EDM moments in there, which were beautifully integrated. I feel like they've played with so much and they've got it right. They've just been adding, and I think some people feel like when you add stuff, it takes away from the metal. But I don't think. I think it just adds more contrast, which makes the metal more interesting when it comes in. The metal aspects are actually bolstered by the fact that they contrast against so many other interesting things in their sound. But yeah, that first album, great start, and I think it just all the more cements how cool the direction they've been in subsequently is.
Okay. I find it interesting that you say it has all the elements that you want from Hanabie because I was listening to it, I really like it. Not gonna lie about that, but I felt there's a lot of stuff not in there that is really essential for the later parts, which is, like you mentioned, that some of the EDM stuff, also vocally, they have like rap parts and that more kawaii vocal style. And I think all of those aspects are not really present in that first EP. It's much more straightforward, just metalcore-ish. But there
I
are
would
certain
agree.
certain elements, like in Timeout, you have that one part in between that also almost reminds me of like some hippie music or like you know that if you know Splendora, I
Yeah.
kind of got vibes from Splendora. If anyone
I don't
knows
know them.
Daria.
I mean,
yeah, anyway.
so in a way, maybe my view of Cherry Blossoms is benefiting from the fact that I know what it leads to, so I know what to look for in it. But so for example, like you say, yeah, they don't.
Yeah, but exactly that's also what I did.
Yeah.
And I was looking for it and I was like realizing it's not in there, but I wasn't really missing it a lot.
I felt like the indications. This is what I mean. I don't feel like it had all those things, but it was indicating. You could see the little budding of those ideas. Like they were playing.
Yeah.
There wasn't like rap in there, but there was like bits where they were playing with vocal rhythms, like the way they do the call and answer on that album, where they bounce between Yukina and Matsui's vocals. Those little call and answers, the bits where it's very rhythmic. Like they don't just sort of like launch stuff on the beat. There's like rhythmic trickery going on in there, which is usually reserved to stuff like funk and rap. Things that a lot of younger metal groups wouldn't be that playful with the rhythm of the vocals. And so for me, there was a feeling that there was those playful rhythmic elements that kind of indicated this is the group that would be happy to do rap in their songs and they wouldn't feel weird about it at all. I think maybe the one thing you're right about is that maybe there wasn't an indication of the EDM playfulness that they were going to do. That's the one thing that maybe came a bit
from the intro, but
yeah, true.
Kind of
true.
separate. There are no songs like, for example, LCG or something, which is just loaded with synth sounds. It's not something like that on here.
I get the feeling maybe that's the one thing you could argue there was no indication that was going to happen. But I think it felt like an album by a band who, okay, let's put it this way. It feels like an album by a band who are in a room full of contemporary rock music instruments, but if you put them in a room with extra instruments, they'd happily use them. It kind of had that vibe. You can imagine this being recorded in like a Tokyo rehearsal room, setting up the mics. And you could just imagine, hey, if they got the budget and they put them in like a big sound studio, they'd grab all the other instruments as well. Which I think is the Matsuri element, definitely. The way she seems to look at music seems to be the driver of that.
Yeah, probably. She's the main writer, right?
Yeah. I heard some people were quoting things from interviews with her where apparently the way she looks at her music writing is like semi-mathematical, and I love that. I love the fact that she's so analytical with her songwriting because there's nothing. That's not clinical. That's like that means you're really focused on detail and like doing interesting things, and I think it comes across. It's like the part of Hanabie's signature. They're so detailed in the way they write.
Yeah, I did read something similar where they were talking about the way that she approaches writing her songs. She breaks it up into like an equation, and she makes sure like there's certain bits of like metal and certain bits of other parts that are like equated into like one song. So she'll approach one song as like a 2-for-1 of what she wants in there, and she'll make sure it happens like to a T, or she'll bounce like a quiet verse with a metal verse and make sure that is back to back in like perfect quantities and rhythmic and stuff. Like I've heard that she's very, very precise about how she comes into songs and writes it, which is kind of cool actually. I quite like that.
I mean, obviously a certain degree of that could be like bolstered up for the image, but I think it does certainly come across in the writing. If that is genuinely what she's doing, I wouldn't doubt it because it feels that way when you listen to it. It's interesting though, because in a way, Hanabie has got like a similar quality. We were talking in the previous episode about Bandmaid, and I think there's a similar quality here in that like Yukina is like the one everyone looks at in a kind of like the same way that Miku is the one everyone looks at in Bandmaid. And yet the one who's really masterminding a lot of the sound, you've got your Konami in Bandmaid, but even more so, you've got Matsuri and Hanabie. And I think that's kind of interesting how Matsuri takes a little bit of a back role. And yeah, it does feel like she is kind of like what makes Hanabie totally Hanabie. It's like
mastermind.
You couldn't. Yeah, it's like you couldn't take her out. There's just no way that she could be replaced. I'm not saying Yukina could, but I'm just saying like Matsuri just feels like the most important element, and yet Yukina is the image of the band. You think Hanabie, you think Yukina.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Everyone agrees with me. End of episode. Yeah, let's go.
End of episode.
So,
indeed.
okay, how do you guys feel about it though? Because how do you feel about the change? Because obviously you two are a bit more metalheads, and so like I said, the metal aspect is maybe dissipated a little bit. So how do you guys feel about the fact that from Cherry Blossoms Blooming to their most recent stuff? I know some people were not big fans of Girls Talk. I personally think it's a great song, but because they didn't feel it was metal enough.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, for me, really, Girls Reform Manifest is perfect Hanabie. Like I just mentioned, in Cherry Blossoms, it felt like the blossom wasn't blooming fully, if you can put it that way.
Your poetry is on point, my man. He's dropping that poetry.
No, but really, and then we have the latest one, Reborn Superstar. To me, there are some great tracks, and I like it overall, but I don't like it as much as the middle album. And I think a reason is they went even more in that heavy electronic vein or like direction, and somehow listening to some of the songs, I feel I'm missing a bit of melody. It's focusing a lot on being, a certain chaotic type, which is cool also, but I'm somewhat missing a bit of, I don't know, really engaging melodies in that last album. So
That's an
for me,
interesting
Girls
point.
Reform Manifest is really the perfect blend of that more pure metal and a bit of a electronic blend and experimentation.
Yeah.
So but I'm still
I'm
looking forward very much to what they will come up next.
yeah. I'm the complete opposite. Like for somebody who likes metal, I really liked Manifest, but I think what they did for Reborn Superstar, I thought that was a perfect follow-up. Yes, it's less metal, but I have like a really soft spot for like electronics, like synths, like powdered through metal, and I just thought that next step for me was perfect. After hearing that album, probably a hot take here, but I'm actually more excited to see what Hanabie do next than probably any other band probably on the circuit now, like including Bandmade, Baby Metal, even Love Bites to an extent. With Fami coming into the next album, I just feel like Hanabie is like one of those bands that hit gold. And I'm just loving the journey, which is and like Benedict said, it loses that metal appeal, which 90% of the time I would sort of be like against because I like metal. But there's something about that album where I'm just like, you know what, I just really fucking love this.
Yeah.
um and I love the change in direction. Would I like a little bit more metal? Um maybe there's that slight argument, but I love the direction that has changed. It was for me, it was a going back to what we said about Bandmade, we could talk about the first album. The is it Cherry Blossom on it again? I'm awful with names. The Cherry Blossom one coming into this.
Has Hanabie you're thinking of, right? Cherry Blossoms Blooming.
Hanabie,
Yeah.
Hanabie.
Yeah.
So, like I said, talking about Bandmade, I said, but you can go back to the Cherry Blossom album for Hanabie moving forward. You can kind of like see the evolution of like kind of where they were going. Like the seeds were always planted, and I feel like they've gone from like what Howard said, like the first Cherry Blossom to like limited access to what they can do, possibly a mixture of funds and inexperience, and maybe not like a like producer or whatever behind them as well, just to tweak things. Then you've gone from the second album, which is they've got a little bit more money behind them. They've gone a little bit harder with the metal, a little bit more experimenting, a little bit more kind of like you kind of see where they're going to Superstar album, which is now an amalgamation of the first two combined, but with the added synths, which feels like that was always their intention to kind of put that in there. And it just feels like a perfect blend. So now I'm looking for the next step, and I'm super excited for that. Like really excited to see what happens, where they go next.
Yeah, I cannot disagree, but I just personally like the style of Girls Reform Manifest more.
I think it's kind of difficult because I mean, ironically, I kind of agree with both of you in a way. I think that the thing with Girls Reform Manifest is that so there is this aspect where, like, the most recent album does feel more cohesive, but I guess the question is, does it feel more cohesive at the lack of experimentation? Is there like, has they lost a little bit of sparked experimentation to make it sound more cohesive? It's difficult because I feel like both albums actually stand up very well on their own for different reasons. So like I'm using the English names here, by the way, because some of their names for their songs are a little bit difficult in Japanese, even for me. But if you look at like We Love Sweets, and I often think of like We Love Sweets, it maybe this is unfair, but I compare it a lot to like Pardon Me as like the two songs were kind of like the slightly insane singles of those two albums. And like I feel like We Love Sweets had more ideas, but I think like Pardon Me feels like the song that it kind of like leaves the more lasting impression because it's a very cohesive single, you know. So We Love Sweets goes through all these crazy phases. It does all these things where you're just like, oh my god, this is so insane, I love it. But then Pardon Me is more of an effective final song, and I feel like in a way those two songs are almost like microcosms for the albums they're individually from, but both of the albums are very eclectic. I guess maybe the question is do you feel like Reborn Superstar was genuinely a growth from the album, or it took them in a certain direction? And I feel like if I was to describe what I feel it did, both those albums are brilliant, but I feel like Reborn Superstar was kind of more about making all the crazy ideas more cohesive. You know, you felt like that album was more naturally delivering singles. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I feel like they
see that. Mm-hmm.
I can imagine people would get into the album easier.
I think Reborn Superstar flows really well as well. Maybe it's a case of like maybe what Howard said, like maybe it's less chaotic in its kind of way with its sound, maybe. But that album has always been an album for me where I stick it on and it feels like 15 minutes has gone past and I've listened to the whole entire thing. It just time just fucking flies when I listen to that. My only downside to that album is the very last song. What's it called? This Is a Good Day, So Epic.
Today's Good Day and So Epic, really.
Yeah. I hate that. I hate that song.
Absolutely top Hanabie song for me.
He said hate. He dropped hate in for that.
I hate that song. I don't know what it is about
hate that song,
because it feels so out of place with the rest of the album. That last song feels
so
that song feels so like it's not supposed to be there. It's unreal. Like with the other like 8 songs that come before.
I would let that count for me, the ultimate invader of the universe, which is just that little electronic song mixed in, which I would say, okay, that doesn't really feel like it belongs, but the last song, like I would say it's one of my top 3 Hanabie songs.
Wow, it's not a bad song. It's a great song, but in the context of like putting it on that album, maybe
it doesn't fit that well on the album. I'm
inclined
to agree with
that. As
a
song individually, it's a great song. Like it is still banging, but like on the end of the album, I don't know what it is. But every time I listen to that last song on the album, I just find myself just not finishing it. I always cut the album off just before that song.
May I ask, what do you think about the song? There's one song called Warning. Do you know which one I mean?
I am literally, like I said, you're gonna have to. Which album is that? I'm awful with names.
It's a few tracks Reborn Superstar. So basically, if you're going up today, Today's Good Day, then you're kind of like coming off the back of Warning and a few other tracks. So it's I just kind of like
because my favorite songs from Reborn Superstar are the last one, which you hate, then it's Warning, and it's Me, the Ultimate Invader of the Universe, actually, which might surprise some people. Like, but those are kind of the songs that I would say fit the least for the style they went for Reborn Superstar, and maybe I just don't like that style so much.
I think to be honest, Today's Good Day, I feel like it's almost like they are. It's kind of sorry, the police coming. It's got that vibe.
They found you.
I thought you were listening to the song while you're talking.
I did just pop it on just to sort of like remind myself, like because when you hear the first few notes, you get that feeling when you listen to an album, the first few notes, you remember how you feel every time that track comes on. And like some tracks, you hear the first few notes, you're like, oh yeah, it's this one. So I was like, just putting it on to start reminding myself. And I think every time that comes on, it's just kind of like the insane. It's like the bit where it's like, hey, it's over. Let's just go nuts. And so in a way, I get what you mean. It feels like a bit out of place, but it's also just kind of like the fuck it. It's the end of the album now.
It's the end of the album song. Bye.
And in a way, I kind of like
also such nice melodies in that song, like that chorus melody. I really love it, and I feel that's some songs like Torso, Runaway, or the singles were kind of missing that aspect for me.
I agree that Torso is probably my least favorite song on the album, which I know a lot of people disagree with me very heavily on. But for me, that just kind of felt like, okay, it was straight, but it just didn't have any of the usual creativity that I personally like from them. But I get it. it's a straight rocker that I do understand why people like it. If you are a metalhead, I totally understand why you like it. Just for me, it didn't really bring out the things that I most like about Hanabie, but that's me. And so yeah, totally just my opinion. But when you come to that final track, I think that in a way, it's kind of like it's more turned up to 11 than Toso. It's more insane than Toso. And just at the end of the album, it's just kind of like, oh, fuck you. We're done. And so I think
and it leaves
I
you
like
with
it because
such a
it's the last track.
good feeling. Just have to love it.
I think if it was anywhere else, I'd probably be like, okay. But it'd be like, it's a good one. But at the end of the album, it kind of has a little bit, kind of like how I said with Bandmade that I like Page being at the beginning of Conqueror, because it's like a fuck you. It's like, fuck you, we start with a ballad. What are you going to do about that? And so in a way, it's kind of like that. It's like the opposite end of that. It's like, fuck you, we ended with a song that makes just no sense. It's just, we decided to go insane. And so I kind of like that more because of what it indicates being at the end of the album. So if anything, I'm probably approaching from like the totally opposite direction with this one. But on its own, I'd be like, okay. But at the end of the album, I'm like, okay. And it's short as hell as well, isn't it? I didn't even realize that, but looking at it now, it's like 2.5 minutes.
It's really hard to critique two albums because I honestly think like the latest two albums from them are like a 9.5 and a 9.7. Like, you know, they're as close to perfection as I think you can get. Even with like their imperfections and downfalls, it's just a really good fucking time. No matter what.
Yeah.
Like if I was going to introduce like maybe a metalhead to Japanese music as well, like Hanabie would be for sure probably one of the bands I would gravitate towards and go, hey, you like metal? You want a little bit of cuteness in your song with some awesome fucking growling vocals? Here you go.
Would you show them We Love Sweets, or would you show them from Reborn Superstar? What's it called?
I don't know. That's a really.
I think it depends on the person, doesn't it?
I think it. Yeah. If it's like a massive metalhead where metal it's all the way, then definitely Manifest would be the album I show them. If we're talking like maybe someone who's a little bit more open, like loves metal but likes different genres as well, then I think Reborn Superstar would be the album I would show them. So yeah, it kind of depends on the person slightly. But I think even if you showed somebody like both of those albums, they're so fucking good. I would even say that they're kind of probably way underappreciated than what they should be.
Yeah, I am glad to say though, their star is definitely rising.
Yeah.
You know, they've gained a lot of support, international audiences, and also in the home market. It seems like in Japan, they genuinely appreciated it, which I think is fantastic. So I think they're one of those artists who are just getting good press across the board, and they're definitely on the up. You're seeing them popping up in all kinds of places. You know, they seem to have a bit of a media love as well. You know, the media kind of like them. You know, you see them popping up on TV shows and stuff where metal bands wouldn't usually be. They're a bit of a curiosity, but a curiosity who can back it up with quality content. And again, being a curiosity, having people look at you and go, what's this? That sometimes is enough just to make people want to have you around because you're interesting.
How is their popularity in Japan? Obviously, from me and Benedict's perspective, we can only say what we see from internationally. But like in the case of like again, Baby Metal, because we have to mention Baby Metal every episode, we know that they're massive. We know that they're massive internationally, but maybe not so much in Japan. Like people know who they are, but I wouldn't say they're as beloved maybe in Japan as they probably are internationally, or not an extent to like other bands are in Japan. What would Hanabie's kind of like perception
just for a little,
in Japan?
A little bit of open perspective on that. I think like, I mean, Baby Metal have been through a rather weird transition, and obviously their height of their fame is probably looking back rather than forwards, but they are still, I think they're kind of like almost a legacy artist now where everyone kind of knows about them. If you're into music at all, you'll know about them. But yeah, I wouldn't say that Baby Metal have the huge relevance at the moment that a lot of other artists have. They're just kind of like those names that everyone knows, a bit like kind of how Scandal unfortunately is as well. You know, everyone kind of knows them. If you're into music, you know Scandal, but yeah, the number of people actively listening to them will be much less.
That's enough relevance you need.
Yeah, well, exactly. But it is interesting how like it does indicate what power you have to do new things.
Yeah, totally. There you go, Baby Metal are washed up, cunt Howard.
Hey, don't blame me. Blame the media. But no, I mean, when it comes to Hanabie, so like Hanabie are like not like a household name, but they're definitely, if you're asking people about, oh, you know, hot topics bands coming up, Hanabie is one of those names that will be mentioned. If people are on have a finger on the pulse of bands coming up, they'll be like, oh yeah, Hanabie, that's a thing right now. And I think that's the thing. They might
Yeah, but
not
like
be
still, because I remember actually Girls Reform Manifest was one of the first Japanese albums I discovered because it was immediately recommended to me when I was like clicking on baby metal videos and stuff.
yeah.
So it's kind of stayed relevant at this whole time, I would say.
I mean, you could argue with having two albums come out like the two they've had, that there is now whatever album comes next, there is a lot of pressure on whatever they do next to step it up from where they were before. And I don't mean in terms of quality, I mean like to maintain that degree of relevance, if that's indeed what matters to them. And, you know, considering they're on an upward trajectory, why wouldn't they at least care about that to a certain degree? But for me, I think that yeah, they probably are going to have a certain degree of pressure on them when the next album comes out to have at least one surefire banger of a single. It can't just be pure chaos. But so, yeah, they're in that. It's weird when you're in that position in your career where you are expected to maintain a certain degree of cultural relevance. But I think the one thing that we know about Hanabie is, first of all, their touring is very successful. You know, when they tour, audiences love them, which means that I think that they'll always be able to keep some foothold on that. But I think having surefire bangers, you know, songs that people go, oh, that just came out, can't wait for them to play that on the next tour, that also helps a lot. Especially when you're going to maybe festivals, which I know Hanabie have got a thing for. You go to a festival, and if you've got a song that's like big on the internet right now with metalheads, so I think there is probably, as much as people don't like you saying it, there is a certain degree of pressure for them to make sure that they got a big single coming out every year or so. But certainly they are, at the moment, certainly they are darlings of the scene as far as I would see.
Yeah, do you reckon they'll stick to their like sort of pattern that they got going at the minute and releasing an album every 2 years? Are we looking at, do you reckon, the back end of 2025 for a new release?
Hard to tell.
Yeah, there's not really any precedent for this, but I would say that, I mean, if anything, there might be a certain degree of considering how much they're beloved right now, there might be something where it's like, you know, actively encouraging them to, hey, well, look, if you have ideas, keep writing them, put them down, and hey, maybe we can come up with something sooner. They're big enough, I think, that maybe they're okay to hold out for another album, but they might put out a mini album. They might put out something just to sort of keep the attention up. Marketing's a very weird thing when it comes to bands. There's so many different approaches, but yeah, I think at the moment, considering how much popularity they seem to have currently, then, and we were looking at their Spotify figures, and I know it's a very broad thing, but we were saying from their Spotify figures, their monthly listeners do seem to have jumped up a lot in the last couple of years. So, which is a fairly broad but relevant indication. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped a mini album, or they were just very quick moving on to the next album, or at least maybe they just did that thing where every time they have a really good song, they release a single, and eventually, after they've got enough, they record a few more songs and call it an album. So, who knows? But definitely their star is rising, and I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to keep themselves in our attention. So I'm excited. I think we're going to get more Hanabie soon.
I think also coming back to that live, why they are, I think a lot of their songs really work great live. I haven't seen them live, but I can just imagine just the way they structure and do their songs. I don't know. Sorry, I go now. That's stuff, you know, the audience can shout during that live performance. I imagine it's going to be epic, and they are just a really fun group on stage.
And they're so colorful. I mean, after all, like the dour metal bands that you get from certain parts of the world, you're sort of in black, like, oh, and then like the fucking Hanabie turn up there looking like someone's just like vomited paint everywhere. And it's just beautiful. I love the chaos. I love the
spin. You're on the wrong stage.
They just look so chaotic. Yeah, they're like the metal Gatrick spin. I adore it.
In terms of looks, definitely, and also like, kind of in terms of sound too, because they are really
that's the thing, isn't
out there with their sound. I don't know, couldn't really compare Hanabie to any other group, except they have a bass metal chorus sound, but there's so much more to it.
It's happy metal.
Yeah,
you listen to Hanabie to be happy.
Fun metal, yeah. fun
It's
metalcore.
You imagine seeing Hanabie for the first time as a metal fan. Like your eyes are going to be constantly overwhelmed by the movement and the color. And sonically, it's like if you get bored for even 15 seconds, something new is going to happen. Like the sound keeps on flipping and changing. For me, it's like, there's so many bands you can name from like maybe the traditional metal scene, and this is where I'm going to go probably butt my head with a lot of more metal heads.
So if you look at the albums, you wouldn't expect the sound necessarily
No,
from
you
the
would
coloring
not
and
expect.
stuff.
Yeah,
but
you
you
would
listen
not
to like a
expect.
lot of more traditional metal bands, and like once you've heard like a few bars of a few songs, you know roughly what you're in for. But like Hanabie is like you, sorry, you cannot predict their stuff. It's just like constantly ideas, colors. It's like a real stimulus, like
Yeah.
stuff being thrown at you. And
So
I
maybe
love that.
can I
think it's
ask you, what is there anything you would wish for their next release? Like anything in their music, any changes, anything to go, any direction to take that you would say this is the way I would love them to see go take?
I wouldn't mind them going like a combination, like because we've seen them go like full metal. We've seen the last album kind of like be a mix of like electronic synths with metal. I would love to see the next album kind of go in like a rave metal direction, like really kind of
Rave
embrace,
metal.
yeah, like really like get some like beats
Are
going.
you turning
with,
them
like,
into Electric Cool Boy
Yeah.
or something, right?
yeah. Well, you could probably argue that Hanabie are as close to Electric Cool Boy as you could probably
I just
get.
wanted to say they already kind of do
Yeah,
that.
they were kind of
But
already did. But I'd like,
more,
I
yeah.
completely disagree. No,
I wasn't sure
no,
if I would go that
no,
direction, but I would love
no.
to see actually if they take the electronic route to really go even more electronic.
yeah, like take just take
Yeah, and
what
not
they've
try
got.
to shove in the metal so it has to have some metal in it. It doesn't have to, in my opinion.
Yeah, take both of what the last album was and just crank it up to 11 a little bit and kind of really go ham and just embrace both sides of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that. And basically, just kind of do what they're doing, but it's a hard one because you don't want them to stay all at the same time. You don't want them to stay in their own little box, but you want them to go out and you want them to evolve and to try new things. So I would just say, if I had to say where I would take it, I would say, like I say, go like that, kind of maybe go a little bit ravey, a little bit more electric synths, and then just like really kind of focus on that with layering the metal over it. I think, especially with the latest album where that was quite prominent, I think that will be a lot better maybe for like more casuals and stuff. But then again, you might piss off the core metal audience, which they're known for. So it's give or take. If they did the complete opposite and went like full blown metal again,
Yeah.
like originally, I'd be happy with that as well, honestly. But I again, I'm not in the band. I don't know where they'll take it. But I'm excited no matter what. I'm just excited for this album in general because I think it's going to be a banger.
I mean, there's nothing announced, right?
Not
that I'm aware of.
not that we're aware of right now. No, but
We should probably check that before we did this episode, shouldn't we?
Probably.
Not that I'm aware
New
of.
album already out.
I would say personally, I think the two things that almost seem surefire, and this is with certain bands, there's always those things you feel safe that you just know are true. And for me, the two things that you know are true is that there's never going to be a day when Hanabie are not metal. Okay, metal is never going to be something that they're suddenly going to forget how to do. So I think if you're a metalhead, you don't have to worry about that. And I think the thing for me that I love is I feel like Matsuri is such a safe pair of hands for writing. She's so, like, her approach is so methodical, interesting, and experimental. I feel that those two things are surefire. So in my opinion, I would kind of agree a little with Neon said, which is that just feel free to go mad and experiment, because I know that Matsuri is not going to allow a song to go out that isn't creatively put together. Whether people like it or not, it's always going to have a surefire idea, and she's not going to put out something that she's not happy with. And I think it's always going to have a metal aspect because they're Hanabie. So I would say just be as crazy as you can, because it's going to be good. And don't throw in all kinds of genres. I liked when we had little rap bits, like We Love Sweets. Have the rap bits, bring back some of that rap, have pop vocals, have the metal, have everything, have rave bits, have just through everything, because I feel like they can handle it. They can handle it, and they're so reliable in that way. They can so easily handle mixing things, which a lot of other of their peers couldn't handle it, or you wouldn't be so sure that it was necessarily going to work. I think Hanabie can handle it. So just be free. I don't. If they put out another album that was straight metal, I'm sure it'd be good, but I would feel a little bit like you can do more. You can do more. So I want them to be as crazy as possible because they can do it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think the one thing as well as like with the latest album, like Hatsu really shined in that one as well. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see that kind of continue. It's like the one thing I do think is Hatsu gets really freaking undervalued, probably the most out of everybody. I know with Matsuri and I know with Yukina, it's really fucking hard to compete with both of them. But you know, let's just like take 2 seconds to just appreciate her a little bit because I feel like she gets really underplayed and undervalued.
Do you think?
I know we're running out of time, so I'm trying to get sing her praises while I can.
Yeah. Do you think it is just because of the fact that like they got like such big names at the front with Matsuri and with Yukina that
it's like isn't the main focus most of the time, to be honest.
They're the Lennon and McCartney of Hanabie.
Again,
she gets Ringo Starr.
Yeah, it kind of harkens back to like Misa's situation a little bit, where like when bandmates sort of like really came out and really were prominent, like it was like let's be honest, Miku was the face of that band. Like everybody, when you look bandmate, it was Miku, and then eventually, like as the album sort of like came out, like a lot of people like really started to appreciate Misa more and more and more, which was really weird.
I was going to say, I don't think Misa's lacking fans.
No, she's not. She's not lacking fans. But you know, when she first came out, it was all about this wonderful, colorful pigeon that stole the show, and now everybody's gravitating towards the weird introvert in the corner playing bass. So, yeah,
I think girl who doesn't wear shoes.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the same for Hatsu. I feel like the more Hanabie release more stuff, I think the more appreciated she'll become. I think over time.
I think there's always that underdog aspect as well. Like if there's a big personality in a band, then there's always going to be fans who deliberately want to like the person who's not that person, just because it's like, yeah, I support the underdog, you know.
Yeah, I
think that's like when you've got like someone like Baby Metal, where Sue's like ultra like the main member, then there'll be some people who will just be obsessed with Moa because you know she's the underdog, and they'll be like, oh, I've got to support the.
Are there people like that?
Yeah, who could I be talking about?
Yeah, you could argue the same for the drummer as well. Is it Say? Am I saying that right? Say whatever. I can't pronounce her name.
I know.
How is it pronounced? Does anybody know?
I think it's Sia, but let me just check. Now I'm slightly worried.
Write it S-A-E, but how do you pronounce it?
Yeah.
It's Sia. Sia's the former member, so it's Chica now, isn't it? So Sia's the one who left, and then Chica's the one who's in there now.
Is it Chica now?
Yeah, Chica's the one who ended
after. Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. I was like, again, computer names.
Because we did a whole video about that, by the way. Can I just we did a whole. So this is how bad we aren't remembering names. We did a whole video about Sia, and we can't remember.
Like I was saying on with Hatsu, with Chica. So I completely forgot they switched it as well. That's going to be interesting as well for the new album to see kind of what impact she has on it as well.
She's been in for long enough that she's had her impact now.
Hopefully they will. Hopefully she will stay.
Hopefully she will stay. What is this? Their fourth drummer now?
What? I thought it was only two. What? I
think there was one before.
No, was there?
You're right. You're K-Day.
I love this. We've got 1 minute to go, and all we're doing is proving that we don't know fuck all about this thing we just talked about for an entire video. We did a whole video, and all we're going to finish it by proving we don't know shit. Have they? All right, fair enough. Well, I don't know. Fuck all.
Yeah, four. This will be their fourth drummer now. So it's insane.
Well, then we don't have to appreciate the drummer because she might be replaced.
We had Kaede, then Boa, then Sai, and now Chica.
Oh Jesus! All right. Well, we get now. One thing we have got is 30 seconds left in this episode before the free version of Zoom runs out. So we're going to say, get in the comments. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think about like the trajectory of Hanabie, where they are, where they're going, which albums you like the most, and why. All these kind of things. Let's enjoy the conversation in the comments until we hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. Remember to keep your ears to the east. It's there somewhere.
Howard needs a glowy mic.